So, moving on, let's look into the concept of random variables. So basically, so far you saw that you have a sample space, and that sample space can be divided into some events. So all those events are part of the sample space. So let's say in this example, in this figure, you see that the entire sample space is capital omega, and then you see that there are different points within this sample space: small omega 1, small omega 2, small omega 3, small omega 4. And if you associate a real number with each of these points in the sample space, then you get some numbers. You basically get a mapping as shown in this figure. So omega 1 is mapped to a number, say x of omega 1. Omega 2 is mapped to x of omega 2. Omega 3 is mapped to x of. So these are real numbers. So this is the real number line, and you are mapping each of these events to a real number. So these real numbers are basically called random variables. So let's see an example. Let's say I am tossing two coins, okay, together. If I toss two coins together, then what will be the outcomes? I can get like two heads together. I can get a head and a tail, so a head first and a tail next. I can also get a tail first and a head next, and then I can get two tails together. So let's say so these are the four, let's say, points in the sample space. So the sample space consists of these 4 points: omega 1, omega 2, omega 3, and omega 4, let's say. And let's say I say that, okay, the number of heads occurring while you are tossing two coins. So in this case, this is 2, this is 1, this is 1, and this is 0. So basically, I am mapping these events. So omega 1 is mapped to number 2 in the real number line. So basically, this is your x of omega 1. This is your x of omega 2. So omega 2 and omega 3 are mapped to the same number 1, and then this is your x of omega 4. So according to this diagram, I'm taking an example and I'm showing that how the events in the sample space are mapped to a real number. So these numbers correspond to each of these events, and since each of these events have some probability, so these numbers will also have some probability. So random variables are nothing but they are real valued mappings of the events of a sample space on the real number line. Each random variable having a particular probability. So what is the probability of getting a 0 when you toss two coins, or 0 head? That probability is 1/4. This is the only case where we have 0 heads, so 1/4. So 0, this number will have a probability 1/4. The number 1, what is the probability that you get 1 head when you toss two coins? This can be a combination of these two events. So basically, you have 2 out of 4 possibilities, so that will be 2/4 or half. And what is the probability of getting a 2 or getting 2 heads when you toss two coins? So that will be again 1/4. So then this is your x omega, and this is your probability of x omega. So random variables are actually uh, random variables are actually represented like this. So coming to the discussion of random variables, so we can have a cumulative distribution function for random variables. So basically a cumulative distribution function capital F of x is nothing but the probability that the random variable x of omega takes a value less than equal to small x. So this bold phase red x is denoting the random variable, and within the parenthesis whatever the small x suggests, this is the value that you are comparing the variable against. So basically capital F of x is the probability that given these events belong to the sample space, you are mapping these events to the real number line, and what is the probability that this real number value is less than equal to a certain value small x. Or in a more simpler way, this is represented as probability that the random variable capital X is taking a value less than equal to small x. This is denoted by this function which is called the cumulative distribution function. And cumulative distribution function, since it is equal to a probability, that has to be between 0 to 1. So this is the property, the first property, and this follows directly from axiom 1 of the probability measure. Then the next property is that cumulative distribution function is non-decreasing in nature. So if you have two values x1 and x2, and if x1 is less than x2, then f of x1 is less than f of x2. And this is very intuitive because the event x1 is contained within the event x2. Then the cumulative distribution function of minus infinity is 0 because this comes directly from the definition. Probability of a random variable less than equal to minus infinity is not possible because this random variable is always a real number, and the value of this capital X is always between minus infinity to plus infinity. So probability of x less than minus infinity is not possible. So that's why this is 0. So this is what is denoted by this expression. And then probability of x of plus infinity is 1 because any random variable is always less than positive infinity. So that is a sure event. So in that case, this is equal to 1. And then the probability of x, the random variable x taking any two values between a and b, is basically the difference between these two cumulative distribution function, fx of the upper bound minus fx of the lower bound. So typical plots of cumulative distribution functions are like this. So as you saw from the properties that cumulative distribution functions are always non-decreasing. So you see that it's always rising, okay, with the value of x. And it can be continuous or it can be discrete. In this example, this is discrete. It is taking some fixed values, but it can be continuous as well, like this. And it can be mixed also. So in this example, this one is an example of a mixed. So it takes some continuous values, but there are also some jump or discontinuities at some points. So next is the concept of probability density function. So this is nothing but the derivative of the CDF. So if you take the derivative of the CDF with respect to x, then you get the probability density function, which is defined by the small f of x, and basically the value of the random variable x between two values small x1 and small x2 is is written as probability of the random variable x less than x2 minus probability of x less than x1, and this is equal to the difference between the two CDFs f of x x2 minus f of x x1, and this is the integral of the PDF between x1 and x2. So basically if your PDF, let's say if your PDF looks like this, let's say just a random example, then let's say this is your x1 and this is your x2. So basically this is the area between the curve of f of x or small f of x between x1 and x2. Okay, so that gives you the probability of the random variable lying between these two range x1 and x2. And some basic properties of PDF states that okay, f of x is always greater than 0, and then if you integrate between minus infinity to plus infinity, this is 1. So basically this is the entire area under the curve, which means this is the entire sample space. So let's say your random variable x will be always between minus infinity and infinity. So if you take x1 as minus infinity and x2 as plus infinity, so basically you are spanning the entire sample space, and in that case the value will be 1. In general, probability that your random variable x falls within an area A is basically the integral of the PDF over all values that falls within the area A. So this is the general expression. Now in case of discrete random variables, you cannot define probability density function. In that case you have to define probability mass function. So note the difference here. In case of continuous random variables, you are defining this as this was like, in case of continuous, probability of x less than equal to x1. But in case of discrete, you can define it as x equal to x1, and instead of integration you can use summation in case of a discrete random variable. So this is the, in case of discrete random variable, we don't call probability density function, we call probability mass function, which is the individual probabilities pi at certain values that the random variable x can take, and if you sum all these values, that will give you 1, that will span the entire sample space. So these are some examples of discrete random variables and their probability mass functions. So this is called Bernoulli random variable, which can take two values 1 and 0 with probability p and 1 minus p. So you see this has two discrete values, so you can define the probability as at those values. Probability of the variable x equal to 0 is 1 minus p, probability of the variable x equal to 1 is p, and this is the PDF, and this is the corresponding CDF. Sorry, this is the PMF, my mistake. In case of discrete random variables, you can only define PMF, probability mass function, and then this is the CMF, cumulative mass function. So you have to remember this difference. In case of continuous random variable, you cannot define probability density function. You have to define in case of continuous random variables, you can define probability density function. In case of discrete random variables, you cannot define probability density function, you have to define probability mass functions. So again, another example of a discrete random variable and its probability mass function. This is the binomial random variable. So the probability that x takes a value uh, uh, is given by this expression. So basically this comes from the binomial distribution. What is the probability of the random variable x taking a value small x, that is given by this expression. So and this is represented by this probability mass function. So moving on, you have uniform random variable. So this is a continuous random variable, and the PDF in this case can be defined like this. What is the probability that the continuous random variable x takes a value between a and b, and that is given by 1 over b minus a, and this is the corresponding CDF. Then you have normal random variable. This is the expression for the PDF of this random variable is given by this. So this expression is very important in your digital communication. You will be using this many times to model the noise in a communication system. The noise in communication system is a normal distributed random process. So you will be using this expression many times in future in this module. So this expression is has two particular parameters. One is the mean mu, and the other one is the variance sigma square. Next, you can have functions of random variable, just like you can have functions of real numbers. You can have functions of random variables also. So if you have a random variable x, then if you define a function g of x, then that function is itself a random variable. So y, which is equals to the g of x, which is a function on the random variable x, is itself a random variable. And you can obtain the CDF of y by this expression, and if you apply the relationship between CDF and PDF, you can easily obtain the PDF of y also. So the PDF of y is given by this expression. Okay, so I am not deriving this expression now, but I will leave it to you as an exercise. You can try how this expression is derived. So basically the PDF of y is the sum over all I of f of x xi. So xi, basically these are the different solutions of y minus gx equal to 0. Okay, so y might, at x equal to xi, let's say, you get this expression as 0, let's say. Okay, so different values of x, there can be one value, there can be many values that can solve this equation. So different values of x, which are denoted by xi, can give this expression y minus gx equal to 0. So you take all those values, you calculate the f of x of xi for all those values. Basically you calculate the PDF of x at those values xi, and then you also calculate the derivative of the function gx with respect to x at these values equal to xi, and then you take the absolute value of those derivatives, and then you can write the expression like this. So for all values I, you calculate this fraction. The numerator will be f of xi and the denominator will be this, and then you can sum them up to find out f of y, which is the PDF of the function of the random variable. You can derive this expression, you can try at home and you can derive this expression. I leave it as an exercise for you. Next, let me go quickly through some other aspects of random variables. So you have expectations or mean of a random variable, which is denoted by this expression. So expectation of x is basically integral for all possible values of x of this term x times fx. Similarly, the nth moment of x, generally defined as x to the power n times the PDF of x, and then integrated over all possible values from minus infinity to infinity. For n equal to 2, you have expectation of x square, which is known as the mean squared value of the random variable. And in general, you can also calculate the central moment, the nth central moment, which is basically the random variable minus the mean of that random variable raised to the power of n, and then the expectation of that. So which is from the definition of the expectation x minus mx to the power n times the PDF, and then integrated over all possible values of x. If you take the second central moment, or n equal to 2, then this is called the variance of the random variable, which is denoted as sigma x square and written as x minus mx square, expectation of that, which is basically integral of x minus mx square times the PDF. And the variance provides a measure of the variable's randomness, and the mean and variance of a random variable actually gives some hint about the PDF, or gives a partial description of the PDF. Relationship between the variance, the first and the second moments, are given by this expression. So basically you have variance equal to the second moment minus the first moment square. And then finally, a random process. What is a random process? A random process is basically the mapping from a sample space to a set of time functions. So in case of a random variable, you saw that different points in the sample space, they were actually getting mapped to some numbers on the number line like this. So let's say you are mapping omega 1 as x of omega 1, and this was the real number line, right? You are mapping omega 2 as x of omega 2. But in this case, you are mapping, so basically you are mapping the events in the sample space to some time function. So in this case, you are mapping omega 1 to x of x1 t omega 1. So this is x1 t omega 1. This is one time function. Then you are mapping omega 2 to another time varying function x2 t of omega 2, and so on. And the set of this entire entire number of time functions is basically called random process. So if you see at some particular times, if you take the snapshot at a particular time t1, you will get a particular value. So let's say you will get this value here, then this value here, then this value here. So these are basically some fixed values, and these are the random variables. So note the difference between a random process and a random variable. So when you are mapping the events of the sample space to some different time functions, then you get a random process. And if you take a snapshot at some particular instant of time, let's say t1, you will get some values, and these values are actually random variables. So similarly, if you take the snapshot at t2, you will get this value, you will get this value, you will get this value. So again, these values are some set of random variables. So that's what the entire set of all possible time functions is called an ensemble. And you can denote this set by xt, where the time functions x1 t omega 1, x2 t omega 2, x3 t omega 2 are the specific members of this ensemble. And if you take a snapshot at any time instant t equal to tk, you have a random variable xtk. And at any two time instance, say t1 and t2, you have two different random variables, xt1 and xt2, and any relationship between them is described by the joint PDF. So joint PDF we will study in the next lecture, and the complete description of the random process is determined by the joint PDF. And the most important joint PDFs are the first order PDFs and the second order PDFs. So I think I'll stop here today, and we will continue again in the next lecture. Thank you very much.